Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I see that everyone is promptly joining, so welcome to the session. We're really glad to have you here today. And the topic is Straight Talk on Admissions, together with a live Q&A session. Today we're going to speak about our premium partner, Herzing University. I'm sure you all know a lot about Herzing University. However, today we have our two experts, Mark and Anissa, who I'm going to introduce in the next slide. So Anissa is joining us today, and Anissa Neil currently serves as Director of International Admissions and Operations at Herzing University. In this role, she leads strategic initiatives to support international student enrollment and oversees operational processes to enhance student experience. Hi, Anissa, how are you today?
Hey, Sala. Good morning. I'm great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. Also joining us today, we have Mark Rogers, who is International Admissions Coordinator at Herzing University. Mark has extensive experience supporting international students as they pursue their education in the United States, helping them navigate admissions, visa preparation, and the transition to university life. Hi, Mark, how are you?
Hi, Saul. Thank you. I'm doing very good, and thank you for having me today.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Also today joining us we have Subhadip, who's going to be helping us in the Q&A section. He is from in uni admissions
Mhm.
team here to answer any questions you might have about the processes or where your application is in the process. Also, as always, we have a wonderful marketing team from in uni in the background together with Sandeep. So thank you, Sandeep, for organizing. And with that, we can go to the section about Herzing University, which is really exciting. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Mark. Can you tell us a bit more about Herzing, please?
Yes, thank you, Saul, and welcome to everyone joining us today from around the world. Herzing University is a private U.S. university offering experienced faculty, contemporary course content, and global educational perspectives. We currently have 13 campuses across the USA and are accepting international students at our Atlanta, Georgia campus for our September, January, and May intakes. Our international students are valued members of our family, and we strive to provide a caring and supporting environment for them. This is evident with our 14-to-1 student to faculty ratio, fostering deeper learning and better grades through personalized attention and active discussions. With the help of our partner, we have been able to streamline our admissions process. The advantage to the student is that we've been able to eliminate our application fee. We've been able to provide students with admissions decisions within 48 hours. We've eliminated the need for GRE, GMAT, and SAT scores and have gotten rid of those upfront deposits before your visa approval. Let's move forward and talk a little bit about the Atlanta, Georgia campus. Our Atlanta, Georgia campus is conveniently located in the Sandy Springs area of the city, about 10 minutes from the center of downtown Atlanta. Our new campus offers modern classrooms, convenient study areas, and is closely located to major highways, public transportation, shopping, and a variety of restaurants. Atlanta as a whole is a wonderful city featuring entertainment, sports, and activities for all people. We boast a subtropical climate with warm summers and short, cool winters. We definitely experience all four seasons here. We can move and discuss the available program offerings at our Atlanta, Georgia campus. As you see listed here, we are able to offer 3 undergraduate programs, 2 in the technology field, being a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology, as well as a Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity. In business, we offer a Bachelor of Science in Business Management. And at the graduate level, we are able to offer 4 programs, a Master's of Business Administration, as well as an MBA with concentrations in business analytics, project management, and healthcare management. You'll notice on the screen that 3 of our programs do carry a STEM designation, and we'll talk a little further about what that means for you shortly. Talk a little bit about the entry requirements. I'll start with our undergraduate programs. Okay, everything is going to start conveniently through the GUS gateway with an online application. Once your application is created, we are going to ask you to provide us with some documents so that we can make an applications decision, or excuse me, an admissions decision on your application. We'll ask for a copy of a valid passport. We'll also ask that that passport is valid for 6 months after your intended start date. For our undergraduate students, they will be required to take 3 online assessments, one a basic English assessment, 2 a basic math assessment, and the third is a Wonderlic test. That link will be sent to you once your application has been created. All students will be required to provide us with proof of English proficiency. You see there the 4 options for students to provide. Academic requirements, we will at minimum require students to provide us with a complete copy of their high school transcript. If you do have college credits, then we can accept your, of course, your unofficial transcript where we can review it and see if we might be able to apply some transfer credit. The final requirement would be that every student studying in the U.S. on a student visa does need to show they have the money to pay for their education as well as support themselves. So we would require that students provide us with a bank statement or bank letter showing the equivalent of 30,000 US dollars. For our graduate programs, everything starts with the GUS Gateway, same requirement for the valid passport. There will be no online assessments for the graduate programs. There is an English proficiency requirement, same for options for students with slightly higher requirements for our graduate programs. Academic requirements will ask students to provide us with a complete copy of their bachelor's degree, including their degree certificate. Degrees with a 2.7 or higher GPA, that is all we need. If a student does have a slightly lower GPA between 2.3 and 2.69, they can be considered but would be required to submit a statement of purpose. Included with that complete transcript, we would ask for all transcripts, mark sheets, including failed mark sheets. Same financial requirement for students, providing the bank statement or bank letter showing a minimum of $30,000. All programs would require the signing of 4 enrollment documents that will be presented to you during the application process. We'll go ahead and move forward and talk about the tuition and fees. I'll start with our 3 undergraduate programs, the business management, information technology, and cybersecurity. You will see that all 3 of those programs are a total of 120 credit hours and will take 8 total semesters to complete. The duration would be 32 months. And the total cost after scholarships would be $66,940 US dollars. You will see there in the amount of total scholarships for program of $40,000. Our international students are currently receiving a scholarship of $5,000 per semester from Herzing University. That definitely helps with the total cost and allows students to pay the same tuition rate as our domestic students who are attending our program. Below our graduate programs, you will see there is a slight difference between the general MBA and the 3 concentrations being, between the MBA, the healthcare management, and the project management all have 33 credit hours, where the business analytics has 36 credit hours. So you will see a slight price difference going forward. All programs are a total of 4 semesters or 16 months in length. You can see the 3 programs with 33 credit hours. The total cost of tuition and fees would be $23,710, is with the business analytics coming in at $25,600. Our graduate students will receive the same $5,000 per semester scholarship, with a total amount being $20,000 for the student. We can move forward and talk a little bit about our 3 start dates. I mentioned earlier that we have starts in September, January, and May. Our next 3 upcoming start dates would be September 8th, 2026, January 11th, 2027, and May 10th, 2027. I hope to review your applications for one of those terms very soon. Thank you, Saul.
Thank you, Mark, so much. This was very informative, and I think it answers majority of the questions we usually get from our students all over the world. Now, for our audience, just an FYI, and I know the question will come up, the slides will be shared with you. So if you missed any part of the information, you will be able to come back to it as well as to the recording. Thank you, Mark, so much for sharing. And now we're going to go to the next topic, which is as equally on everyone's mind, and this is how to apply for the F1 visa and how does the interview look like and how does the whole process look like. And with this, I'm going to pass it to you, Anissa.
Thank you, Sela. So applying for a visa right now has the process we all know has changed a bit, and there have been some additions to the steps that are required. So we really wanted to lay this out for you guys so that you could really see and understand. However, I do want to note that no matter where you are in the country, you should definitely check with your local embassy where you'll be actually taking your visa interview to see if there are any additions to this process. This is the typical process, but sometimes different embassies require different documents. And it is really important to be sure that you check those prior to actually going in for your visa interview. So step 1 is basically what happens right after you finish all the steps that Mark just finished talking about. So once you've completed all those steps, completed everything and submitted everything for your application, shortly after you should receive an acceptance letter and an official Form I-20. That official Form I-20 is the document that you use to for all the details to schedule your visa interview, and it tells the U.S. government that this student has, in fact, been accepted to a U.S. university. They have applied and intend to attend as an international student on an F1 visa. So that form is issued by the university. There's lots of very personal details on it, including your SEVIS ID. So the next step is going to be to pay the SEVIS fee. This fee is also referred to as the I-901 fee, and that fee is the one that you have to pay in order to schedule your actual visa interview. The next step would be to complete the DS-160 form. That is an online form. It's kind of long. It asks a lot of questions. When you get ready to sit down and do this form, you should really make sure you have some time to sit down and focus on answering the questions on this form accurately. Some of the questions are going to be answered with information that's on your I-20. So your SEVIS ID will be there. Your zip code for the program you're applying to will be there. It's going to ask you about the university that you're attending and the address for that, and lots of other questions also about your own personal life, your personal education, who you are, where you live. All of those things are going to be on this visa application form.
And Anissa, sorry to interrupt. Is it important that on this form the information matches what's on I-20, or can it be just similar information, let's say, not a full course name, perhaps?
Yeah, so it definitely should match what is on your I-20. So I'm sure many of you have heard that visa interviews only last, a couple of minutes, right? So most students that go in for a visa interview, their visa interview is 2 to 3 minutes. And in most cases, those visa interviewers, they're seeing a few hundred applicants in a day, and they don't have time prior to the interview to go through and check all of these things and prepare questions for you and say, why is this different from this? They are quickly going to look at, what you've submitted and what you are saying and asking and planning to do. And based on the conversation, if those things don't match, you can almost consider yourself that you will immediately be rejected for your visa. So they should definitely match, definitely use the information right off your I-20. And if you're not able to do that, you can go back and change your DS-160 form, I believe, if you need to go back and make some edits to it. But you have to print that confirmation and take it to you with the visa interview. So definitely make sure that you use the information for the I-20 of the school that you're planning to attend. Beyond the DS-160 form, the next thing is the visa application fee. This one is also known as the DS-160 fee. So there's two fees that you'll be paying prior to going in for your visa interview. And then the next step would be to actually schedule the visa interview. One change with visas that I mentioned earlier is that you are now required to go to a location that is in your country of residence and citizenship. Occasionally, there can be an accommodation made, like let's say you are from one country, but you are living in another country. You may be able to contact the embassy and ask if you can go in for an interview there. We have heard of a few accommodations made for students that want to go obviously where they're living rather than where they're from if for some reason they're not living in their country of citizenship. So you could check with the embassy there to see if they can allow that for you, but you're going to want to go to an embassy for sure, in most cases for sure in the country of your citizenship. Next, you're going to actually attend the visa interview. And Sal is going to probably talk to you guys in a little bit about a lot of common visa interview mistakes. And so I'm going to hold all of those for now, but I will just say, go to the embassy prepared. You need to be sure you're giving genuine, unrehearsed answers. And I was really fortunate to be able to sit on a webinar recently with a previous consular officer that had, done some odd of like 50,000 visa interviews in his lifetime while he worked for the U.S. embassies. And he shared a lot of information with the group about students coming in for visa interviews and the reasons why they were rejected. And a lot of them were things not matching, things not really making sense. And then one of the number one reasons was how rehearsed their answers sounded. So you should definitely be giving those genuine answers. You need to know a lot about the school that you're applying to, and why does that school connect with you? Not the top thing on their website that it says makes them great, but what about that school is going to be a good fit for you? Because they're only going to ask you a couple of questions in this interview. You need to come prepared with all of your documents. They may not ask you for a single one, but you need to come prepared with them in the event that they ask for them, and especially be prepared to explain how you plan to cover and finance your education. After you've attended the visa interview, students sometimes walk away now, still pending their social media review. And so that's another new thing that's been added to the process. Sometimes they are able to get the social media review in advance of visa interviews now, depending on what country you're in. But they're going to do that social media review. And then, so it may be a day or two, 3 before you get your approval or denial. Some students walk away with approval. Some students walk away with denial. It really just depends on the situation and what country you're from and what they were able to do. And then once you get your approval, you're going to want to make travel arrangements, tie up your affairs in your local country, and get ready to come to the U.S. And then students that were denied, unfortunately, either need to figure out how to change something so that they can go back in and take in a second interview. Sometimes students do get approved the second time that they go. We have definitely seen that happen before for students that have been denied. So document checklist. And again, I can't stress enough, please check with your local embassy about what they actually want. Again, every embassy can be different, or they may require some sort of specific form or require it in some sort of specific format, depending on norms there in the local region. So number one is your passport. Got to have that. They got to know who you are, and they got to know, or they're going to want to see your photo ID. So you're going to want to bring your current passport. And if you have any previous passports with old visas in them, you should bring those too. Particularly if you've traveled outside of your home country before and returned to your home country, any details about that are going to be important, because if you left before and you came back, that is going to be something, kind of a positive check mark in your favor to say, the student was able to leave the country previously and come to the US or go to Canada or to the UK or wherever, and they did return. And so that's a good check mark for you, saying that this student has good intentions. They're not planning to immigrate to the US, which is what the initial and primary concern is for the visa officer. So any proof that you've traveled to the US or any other country before, and return to your home country. The next thing on the list is your I-20. You're also going to make sure you sign and date that I-20 when you receive it. When you get it from us, it will already be signed by our DSO, but you're going to want to sign it yourself. We talked about those two payments that you had to make. So the SEVIS payment and the DS-160 payment, you're going to want to make sure that you bring receipts for both of those payments. And when you finish your DS-160 application, it's going to send you a confirmation that has a barcode on it. That barcode is actually what the visa officer scans to pull up your application and know who you are whenever you go in for the embassy. So make sure that you bring all of those. Also, financial documents, any bank statements from your sponsor, bank letters, paycheck stubs, anything that you can do to prove that you have the resources to be able to pay for your education is going to be really important. And the financial documents should match the finances that you gave to the university whenever we did your I-20. So you had to prove to us that you had adequate finances to support your education. You have to do the same when you go into the embassy. And if you gave us your grandfather's financial statements and his bank account from the State Bank of India, you should definitely take those exact same bank accounts with recent dates on them and hopefully similar financial amounts inside the bank account to the embassy with you. If you take in your mother's financial information, for example, and we put on your I-20 that your grandfather was the one supporting you, the embassies are going to see conflicting information and they're not going to like that. And that's not going to help you get your visa approved. And lastly, your acceptance letter that comes from the university. All right, so I-20 stage, this is the time whenever students are ready to actually get their I-20. So the I-20s are always issued to a student when they have everything together for a full admit. So a conditional acceptance letter will get you, basically we will issue you a conditional acceptance letter with everything except for your financial statements and or your enrollment documents. So once you have your conditional acceptance letter, the last two things that would need to be submitted are going to be those enrollment documents and your financial statement and affidavit of support. And once those items are in, that is when we would issue the I-20 to you so that you could go ahead and start through scheduling your visa interview. And lastly, this slide for me, anyway, this slide is just a little bit about SEVIS. So SEVIS is a term that you will hear us refer to quite regularly, but it is the Student Exchange Visitor Information Systems. It's kind of the database platform that the U.S. government and all the universities use to help keep track of their international students, who's been accepted, what status are they in, are they currently active, are they a graduate, all of those things the SEVIS system helps us keep track of. And the long words are a mouthful. So we just abbreviate it to SEVIS, and you'll hear that terminology a lot as you're applying and while you're a student. In order to become an international student in the U.S., you will require an F1 visa, and all students on an F1 visa are tracked through the SEVIS system. It is definitely important, in summary, to make sure that you have paid your DS-160 and your SEVIS fees, and that the SEVIS IDs on those fees match so that they will sync up in the system. And when you go in for your visa interview, everyone will be able to see that. Again, that SEVIS I-901 fee is the fee, usually the last fee that's paid right before you schedule your interview. The fee is $350, and it has to be paid in order to process that application. And that fee is not paid to Herzing. So it is paid to the actual U.S. government, the fee for actually getting your visa interview. If you want to see more about this fee, you can actually go look on the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement website. And the fee can be paid. There's actually a little website there. And as Sala mentioned, this will be sent to you guys later, but you can look there and see where to pay that fee. It's at fmjfee.com. And also in some countries, there are third-party options for payment. So some countries don't have good options to be able to pay electronically online using one of these services. So there's services like Western Union and a couple of others that can be used for making this payment as well.
All right, thank you, Anissa. I think there's the one more slide, which is the DS-160 application form, which we already mentioned briefly. So this is the form you're going to have to complete online before applying for your visa. I think we covered it quite extensively in the previous slide, so just make sure that all the information that is on this form, as well as on your advent and other documents, fully match. And it also matches what you're saying to the visa officer in your interview. The visa officer will have the DS-160 application form open while interviewing you. So it's really important that you know what's on this form, that you do complete it yourself, and that you complete it not absent-mindedly, really. As Anissa mentioned, the form is longer. So when you first log in, remember your login details. It does tend to sometimes time out and internet connection drops happen too. But a good thing is that if you do remember your login details, you will be always able to come back to the form and continue it instead of starting from the very beginning. We don't want that. Even with the current autofills, you still need to double check them. And that's also a good reminder. If your computer tends to autofill forms, make sure it filled it correctly. It didn't fill by accident your siblings or your parents, because this needs to match yours. We did see this happening before with other students. But with that, we're going to go to the next topic, which is on the next slide, and that's how to apply for your F1 visa interview. So just to sum up what Anissa got us through, number one, get accepted to Herzing University. Mark's waiting for your applications. Go submit your documents. Make sure they're crystal clean because, well, we promised the applications on this webinar to Mark, so I'm hoping that by the end of this webinar, the applications are gonna be booming. After that, receive your I-20. Pay the I-901 CVIS fee, complete the DS-160 visa application, and schedule and attend your biometric screening and F1 visa interview. So when you break it down to step by step, hopefully, it feels a lot less overwhelming than when it's just spinning in your head. You don't need to do everything at the same time. You need to go step by step, breathe in, breathe out, and take your time. However, take your time until it's concerning with your visa interview. Don't overthink it. If you see an appointment that you can already book in your embassy, book it. Even if you're not, if you feel like you need more time to prepare, if you feel like you're not ready, book it. It's not easy today to get a visa appointment. They don't come like mushrooms after rain, if I may. They're not that easy to take anymore. So if you do see a visa appointment, book it. If you feel like it's very, very soon and you need help preparing, drop us a message. Shubhadeep and I will be happy to help you prepare for your visa interview if you are worried about it. But with that, let's go to the next slide. So before the F1 visa interview, on the next slide, we're going to speak about what is the visa interview and how does it look like. So the number one thing everyone should remember is that there are no set questions. Every interview is different. So visa officers, they don't have a script. Not even an extensive amount of questions list where they point a finger and choose what will I ask today. The questions are based on the student's application, file, the S-160 form, and even the visa officer's mood or questions they have in your specific case. So there's no set questions. The purpose of the interview is to understand whether the student intends to settle in the US or travel back to their home country after studying, and that's very important. And can the student afford to stay in the US during duration of their studies? Now, as Anissa mentioned quite a few times, and I know I'm mentioning it again, but it's very important. For the most up-to-date list of required documents, check your local US consulate website as they may vary from embassy to embassy. Now, so there's no set questions. We don't know what you will be asked in the interview, yet we keep on telling you you need to prepare. How does one do that if there's no set questions? Well, there's topics you can do research on. And research is not going on ChatGPT and asking what will I be asked and what I should answer. That's the quickest way to fail your visa interview, as that would make your answers very scripted. What visa officers are looking for is you, your personality, your originality. So what research should you do? Number one, finances. tuition fee and living expenses. And a quick reminder here that when you speak about money, about finances, speak in US dollars, not your local currency. If you speak in your local currency, you might be asked to convert on the spot, and that's not the easiest thing to do. Just get into a habit of speaking in US dollars when you refer to finances. Also, my mother and father is paying for my studies is a valid thing. Sponsors are okay. However, even if somebody else is paying for your studies, it's still your future that's being invested for. So make sure you understand how much and you know all the prices of living expenses, tuition fees, etc. Your motivation and interest. And I think that's a topic mostly overlooked for the students. So why did you choose this study program? And there's a key word there. That's not study program. That's why did you choose the study program? Not why the internet thinks the correct answer is to choose a study program, but why did you, as a student, decided to choose a program? Presentation is also really important. So dress code and being on time. I'll start with being on time. Since I have everyone joining here from all over the world, I'll be very specific what being on time means when you go to a visa interview. Be early. Being on time does not mean 2 minutes late. Being on time does not mean 2 minutes before your appointment, you're opening the embassy door. Things take time. Make sure you're early. You're not hyperventilating from running full speed from your car, that you're calm, composed, and you're not getting a visa rejection just because you were 2 minutes late from your appointment time. Dress code. So something representable, formal, semi-formal, don't go too casual. If social media is also very important, and that comes into presentation. However, I will expand of what social media means during your visa interview in later slides. Document preparation. So we talked about what you will likely need to bring and that you need to look at the embassy consulate website in order to see which documents to bring. But why is document preparation in the presentation section? Well, also make sure that the documents are clean, well presented, not taken out, crumbled out of your pocket with coffee stains. When you're asked for a document, don't give the whole pile to the visa officer. Give only the document that's asked and make sure that you're not bringing your whole family metrics there, but just the documents you need. So when you're asked for a document, it's easy to find it in your document pile. Living in the USA, so your travel arrangements, campus, accommodation, the university where it's located, etc. Future plans are also really important. So ties to your home country and plans after your studies. So what do you plan to do with a degree that you're about to study, that you want to study? Institution details are also really important. So unique selling points of the institution. Think about the study modules. What does your course consist on? How does it look? What's the structure? You can also look at alumni, professors, etc. And Herzing has wonderful international student alumni, and I love to watch, for example, social media of Herzing with the students talking about their life at the university. So while you're doing your research, make sure you also go to the less, I'd say, traditional ways of doing research. Make sure you also go and listen to the stories of these students, etc. Your personal details are also really important. So work and study history and what's unique about you. When you think about your personal details, this is when you also think of what did you put on your DS-160 form, what's on your CV, when did you graduate, etc. It sounds simple, but if somebody would ask me now on the spot, which year did I graduate? It would take me 2 minutes to remember, really, because I just don't think about it every single day. And given that the visa interview is just a few minutes, you don't want to waste that time thinking, when did I graduate? So make sure that you're familiarize yourself with all the documents. Travel details. So previous international travels of your family members. Have you had any visas before? Any visa denials? If you do have previous visa denials, how did your circumstances change since then? Why are you ready to apply now? If you have visa acceptances, where, which countries, when was that, what type of visas? So make sure you are able to speak about your travel details as well. And in rare occasions, but still happens, your family travels as well. But with that, let's go to the next slide, which is common interview mistakes. So now we know that in order to prepare for an interview where there's no script without a script, you need to do research. Now let's go to what not to do. So the first one is quite self-explanatory. Not enough research. Common knowledge and thinking quickly on the spot will get you far in life. It will not get you through a visa interview. In visa interview, you need to come prepared with a good research because applicants are expected to have a comprehensive understanding of the university. It's not a small step. It's a very exciting step in a student's life. Traveling abroad, living abroad, away from your family, studying something that you always wanted to study. No one will believe you if you say that you have done zero research about this step. It's a very excited point in your life, and I'm sure that each and every single student did research about the US. Even if the research is the information was always around you and you just remember it, you still have the information. So don't copy the answers from others. Don't try to wing it, but really do your research. Now, number two is providing scripted or generic answers. And as I already mentioned, why scripted answers don't work. When you interview thousands and thousands of students, the scripted answers, they're all the same. And if you ask for ChatGPT for an answer, remember, 700 students that week did the same thing and will give exactly the same answer. So there's no point really. Now, even if your own personal answer perhaps has lower level of English or the sentence structure is poorer than ChatGPT would give you, that makes you more authentic and that makes your answer more authentic, which will help you pass the interview easier. Now, also avoid generic answers. What are generic answers? Generic answers are the answers that could fit to any situation, any university, any country. So if you're asked why Herzing University and your answer is because I like the location. Do you mean to tell me that in this beautiful, large world, there isn't another university where you enjoy the location and that's the only location in the whole wide world you enjoy? See, that's a generic answer. It's the same as I chose Herzing University because it has a library. Well, show me a university in the US that does not. So generic answer is one that fits many situations and many universities. Be specific, be precise. And that ties in with do enough research. Just do enough research about the university, the course, and the country you want to study in. Let's go to the next slide, please. Poor communication is also one, and not to be mixed with poor English. If you're going to Herzing University, you already provided your English proficiency tests. I have no doubts you do speak English, but what does poor communication mean? Poor communication is when students tend to answer with either one-line answers with yes and no and do not expand when the question was open-ended, or the other way around. They ask one simple question and they answer 17 questions with one answer. They're asked, can you tell me your name? And instead of just going, my name is Saula Schulzeit, I'd go, my name is Saula Schulzeit and I applied to Herzing University because ABC, and I also want to study here because ABC, and I also want to study in US. Don't expand. Answer the question you are asked. Practice also, practice answering, practice with a mirror, practice with a friend. If you want to, also practice with us. We're here to help as well. Try to limit your answers to around 3 to 4 sentences. I know it's might sound weird. How do I time it? But when you practice it for a day or two, it becomes really easy. And it will not only help you in your visa interview, that will help your communication skills in life as well. And information accuracy. Or if it's a mistake, information inaccuracy. So providing false, misleading, inaccurate information, whether it be related to previous visa history, family ties in the USA, etc. Remember, visa interviewers do have materials open, so if you're lying on the interview, you will get the visa rejection. And I would always like to say that there's different types of visa rejections, and some visa rejections are easier to reapply after getting one than others. If you give false information, that's the one that's really hard to come back from. Now, at the same time, just to mention here, very quickly, just to finish on providing inaccurate information, if you do have a visa rejection previously, don't panic. We have students that had 2, 3, even 4 visa rejections, and on the 5th time, they did get a visa and enrolled into university in the United States. So just stay calm, look at why you were rejected, and think, how did the circumstances change? But with that, hopefully that will help to get your visa. And once you arrive, just a very, very quick note of tips and tricks of maintaining your visa status. So number one is arrival timing. F1 visa holders must arrive no more than 30 days before the program start date. Arriving earlier than this may result in denial of entry, so plan your travel accordingly. There's also work restrictions. F1 students cannot work off campus. Violating this rule can only lead to immediate termination of your visa status. And I hear students a lot saying like, oh, but I have a cousin and my cousin's friend's sister lived in US on an F1 visa and was an Uber driver and they could do it. Well, let me break it to you. They did it legally and they're about to lose their visa status. Do not follow an example you see on Instagram or stories of your aunties and uncles. Know the rules and you should be all right. On-campus work is allowed but limited to 20 hours per week during academic year. And dependents, which is also known as F2, are not permitted to work on or off campus any under circumstances. Campus presence is also important. International students must be physically present in the US for classes, even if some classes are online. Travel is allowed during school breaks or in case of family emergency, and full-time enrollment is required in the fall and spring terms. Academic progress. Students must maintain good academic standing. Failure to meet academic requirements or dismissal from the university results in the termination of your visa status. All right, now social media checks. I'll be very quick with social media checks. They sound a lot scarier than they actually are. It's actually quite simple and straightforward. We all heard our mothers and fathers telling us since the beginning of the internet is forever. And whenever you upload something, it stays there. The footprint stays. So, when you apply for a job interview, you make sure that your social media account is presentable. It's the same with your visa interview. Just make sure that nothing's embarrassing there, nothing that would go against the United States values, etc. Another good way, somebody once told me, is think about it. If your mother or grandmother wanted to see your social media, would you be embarrassed to show it? Show it. If no, then likely you're all right. Now, officers can review public social media profiles to verify identity, intent, and consistency. So also make sure to make your social media accounts public. The question I often get is, what if I don't have Facebook or Instagram? Social media is a lot more than Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. It's also LinkedIn, it's also Reddit, it's also YouTube, etc., etc. So think about social media handles that you do have. And students are advised to maintain professional, honest, and consistent profiles. Also, again, just a reminder, do make your profiles public before the visa interview, not after. Let's go to the next slide. Also, just an advice, prepare a list of your social media usernames and handles and have it with you in your visa interview. Update the privacy settings to accounts to public and avoid deleting content or suddenly changing settings just before applying. Doing so may risk suspicion. So you can see if somebody deleted many posts just before applying, and then you can imagine it just looks like you're hiding something. Review posts carefully and remove or archive anything that could be interpreted as hostile or extremist. I'm really hoping that's not the case of any of our students either way. But with that, we can go to the next slide where I'm going to pass it back to Anissa with another anticipated topic of what is CPT and OPT. Anissa, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sala. Great information. So we're going to talk a little bit now about CPT and OPT, which are two of the opportunities that international students on F1 visas have to work while they are studying in the United States. So First, we're going to talk about CPT, which we use a lot of acronyms when we talk about international students. I already told you about CBIS. So here's another one. CPT stands for Curricular Practical Training. And the word for an international student is also interchangeable with an internship. So when students are on CPT, they are able to, or let me take a step back. Students are able to participate in CPT when their university program requires it, and it's part of their academic program. So at Herzing, all of our programs have CPT or internship opportunity in the final semester of enrollment. So the students will have a choice to take either an internship or they can take a capstone course. And a capstone course is a class that kind of covers a huge project to go over a lot of the materials that they learn to be able to really showcase what they've learned during their study at the university. And CPT is the opportunity to go out into a job and put what you learned into practice in an actual work environment. So again, it has to be part of the curriculum. That the job must be related to your major. So if you're an IT major or a cybersecurity major, you're going to want to be sure that the position you get is related to that somehow. So you can't go be a cashier at a grocery store if your major was in IT. And the CPT positions can be paid or unpaid. And in order to be able to have a CPT position, you must have completed at least one academic year or 2 semesters. That really only comes into play for graduate students who are on a fast track to graduate in a year. Undergrad students have to wait a bit longer until they're eligible to take that internship anyway. OPT, another acronym, and I think the last one that we're going to talk about today is optional practical training. And there are several options for OPT, but there's only one that we really recommend for students. So OPT can be done while a student is in school. If the student does OPT while they're in school, though, you risk, depending on how long you work and how many hours you work, you risk taking away from OPT after you graduate. So we don't recommend that students take any part of OPT while they're actually in school. Being able to graduate from a position and have your OPT after you've graduated gives you a lot more earning power to be able to earn money in the U.S. work environment. So when students graduate, they are able to apply for what is called post-completion OPT, which will allow the student to work in the U.S. for up to 12 months after they have graduated. And some of our programs are also eligible for STEM OPT, and STEM OPT is an additional 24 months of work opportunity after graduation. And those are for programs that are specifically in the STEM fields. And those programs for us, I believe Mark pointed those out earlier, are going to be cybersecurity, IT, and business analytics. So here we have a side-by-side comparison of CPT and OPT. Hopefully you guys remember those acronyms by now, but CPT is internship. You can kind of think of it like that. OPT is real, true, full-time work experience. So CPT must be part of the program in order for you to participate. You have to have a job offer first so that we can authorize the DSO to authorize the CPT opportunity on the I-20. They can be paid or unpaid, and they can be part-time or full-time depending on how your program and what your program requirements are. And then if you take 12 plus months of CPT, you are not eligible to take OPT. So again, talking about that work experience at Herzing, you would never come into that because we only have one opportunity for CPT. But it's also can also be an issue if you take your OPT post completion. OPT, again, the one that we recommend that you take after graduation. You apply for OPT actually way before you get a job offer. You actually are going to probably apply for OPT before you even graduate, but because we want all that to get processed so that you can get your work authorization really close to the time that you graduate so that you can get that full year of work experience. This one is a little different. It isn't just a quick authorization on the I-20 from your DSO. You have to submit an application that takes some time to process, and that application goes to USCIS. These positions also can be paid or unpaid. Most of our students' OPT's positions are paid positions. I actually don't even know of any unpaid OPT positions that we have had recently. And it can be full-time or part-time, whatever you prefer. Most of our students, again, do work full-time. And we, again, do not recommend OPT prior to graduation so that you can use it after you graduate and you have better earning potential. And if you're eligible, have the opportunity to apply for STEM.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anissa. I think this was a very informative webinar. While you do need to remember what CPT and OPT is short for, I think there has been so many abbreviations, and really abbreviations is really loved. All I can tell you is the good news is that at least you don't need to know what CVIS is short for, but CPT and OPT, I'd advise you do. Anyway, thank you so much, both Mark and Anissa, for this webinar and presenting this information to all of us. This was very, very helpful. But before we close the webinar, I just have a last question for both of you, starting with you, Anissa. Do you have any advice for students that are now about to apply for a visa? Any last advice for perhaps a nervous student?
Yeah, so I think we all are in the understanding right now that going through the visa process itself, especially scheduling the interview right now, has been quite a challenge. And so, number one, I would say, and I think you said this earlier, Sala, if you see a visa interview on the calendar, take it. You know, even if it's inconvenient, even if maybe you have to reschedule something, if you have to ask for a day off work, if you really want to come to the US, if you see a visa interview, if you are one of the few lucky ones that logs in and there's one right there and you can snag it, take it. I see Superdip is just laughing right now because I know he feels how we feel about this, and it is so true. That is probably the best piece of advice that I could give. And, you know, just make sure that you're prepared. You know, be prepared to take the documents with you. Be prepared. Think through those things so you can think on your feet and answer the questions that the visa officers have. But as Sala said, also only answer what they ask you. If they say, "What's your name?" just tell them your name. Don't give them a full spill because, again, that's what they hear from everybody. They want to hear something different so that they can give an approval. But again, number one piece of advice, if you see an interview, take it. Even if it's the next day, and you have to stay up for 24 hours and get everything set up, take the interview.
Just take the interview, really. Thank you very much, Anissa. And Mark, do you perhaps have any advice for the students currently preparing their documents for the application?
I would say get them together and get them in as early as possible. Leave yourself as much possible time on the back end with everything that Anessa just talked about and you talked about with the visa interview. Get your stuff together, get it in soon so that we can review it. That way, if there does happen to be any type of hurdle that we need to jump over, that we do have plenty of time to get that taken care of and make sure you're ready for your interview.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark. I think procrastinating is something we're all guilty of. We do, everyone does it. But when it comes to preparing your documents, sometimes just doing it as quickly as possible takes a lot of stress and anxiety away and also guarantees your spot a lot better. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark and Anissa, for joining us today for this webinar. It was absolutely lovely having you. Thank you all for the audience for joining us today as well. And we're looking forward to seeing you at Herzing. Thanks all. Take care and have a good day.